I know he's not. Yeah. I feel like I'm like a weird guy between the two where I'm fake sad because he my nature is back, but it's easy. It's not yeah.
I did.
It's calm side, right? Or no, violent.
I kind of need to go into because half the topics are like you need to go into and also what is
Are you all set? Everything good?
my mother is
I'm in the major I'm in because I want to make, like, I was not particularly passionate in a lot of ways. I like to kill my hobbies, okay? I don't care about what other people say.
yeah.
I just like everything's out, everything's just reading on
Ignore every single sign. That's not happening. I love watching all of like the insurance and stuff. I'm just waiting on See, what I'm looking into has to do with research and research grants. So
Senate will be in order. For the purposes of analysis, does any individual seek recognition? Senator Prabhakar.
You guys have heard this from me 2 times before, but we're finally approaching the exciting day of tomorrow. Phenom is bringing a bunch of students out to the State House. We're going to advocate for increased financial aid in the 2026 budget. It's going to be awesome. We do have one seat in the car left. If anyone wants to jump on last minute, you're absolutely welcome. But I wanted to just give the announcement that we are bringing with us a letter that explains the kind of issue that we're going to leave on legislators' desks. Anyone who we're not able to meet with, we will be delivering this letter, and we want to get as many people to sign that letter as possible. So I have a QR code that right here that you can scan to add your name and show support for this cause, even if you can't be there in person. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to fill that out. Thank you.
Any other individuals seek recognition? Yes, Senator Trump.
Hello, just a quick update for the structuring responsibility report. I'm still in the process of writing the report. Amendments probably won't be drafted until the end of the semester. Any sort of amendments will go through respective committees and it'll be brought to the attention of the committee regarding that specific amendment.
Any other individual? Any other individuals seek recognition for purposes of announcements? Yes.
Hi guys, so if you guys don't know, Hasa Casa is happening this Saturday in the Campus Center Auditorium at 7 p.m. We would love to see SGA there, and if you guys don't know, it's a collaboration between Hasa and LU to celebrate the Hispaniola Islands. I would love to see you guys there if you can. Flash sale is currently on till Friday, so buy your tickets. Thank you.
Any other individual? All right, there being no more individuals, he says the speaker will record the roll call.
Senator Denny. Senator Ariola. Here. Senator Baumann. Senator Beltrami.
Here.
Senator Black. Senator Borski.
Here.
Senator Butusova.
Here.
Chair Centenaro.
Here.
Senator Chamu.
Here.
Senator DeMarco.
Here.
Senator Dami.
Here.
Senator Duarte. Chair Buvetti. Senator Eze.
Here.
Senator Patricio. Senator Gatto. Senator Germain.
Here.
Senator Hercule. Senator Hiranandani.
Here.
Senator Holland. Senator Ibrahim. Senator Imran. Senator Jame. Senator Kim.
Here.
Senator Kim. Senator Leclerc. Senator Lay. Senator Lefort. Sorry. Senator Molesky.
Here.
Senator Malari. Senator Mondo. Chair Mazondo.
Here.
Senator Mello. Senator Nashi.
Here.
Senator Nevins. Senator Nguyen. Chair Onyeka.
Here.
Senator Patek.
Here.
Senator Fawn. Senator Prabhakar.
Here.
Chair Raven. Senator Rue. Chair Sarna.
Here.
Chair Sharma. Senator Shi.
Here.
Chair Stamen. Senator Tao.
Here.
Chair Tran. Senator Chung.
Here.
Senator Verma. Senator Walker Hoover.
All right, 42 voting members, a quorum is present. Nice. Does there exist a need to call into session the committee of the whole? For what reason does there exist to call into session the committee of the whole? Oh, crap, approve the minutes. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? Any corrections to the minutes? Okay, there being none, the minutes stand approved without objection. Committee of the whole, President Humphries.
University Relations Subcommittee.
Excellent. All right, the Senate will stand in recess and the committee of the whole shall be in session to discuss. President Humphries has said, pursuant to Title II, Chapter 31, Section 9, when the committee of the whole is called in session, parliamentary procedure is suspended and the Senate may not take any official votes or actions. President Humphries.
Hello, everybody. I know you guys are all really excited for the historic battle of the Ashans, but we have to. You got something even more exciting to do first. You may remember my report out a few weeks ago. I talked about university relations subcommittees. Well, today I would like to get officers signed up for each of them. There are 4 committees. I will briefly give you guys brief descriptions again, and then we can kind of do like a first come, first serve type of thing. If you're graduating this year, please don't sign up because we're trying to get people who will. That's going to continue into next year. So, no, Dale is not graduating this year. But so here are the committees: campus experience, which is creating special spots on campus for people to use to demonstrate their school spirit. That is led by Nancy Buffone. There's events, which is focusing on proposing traditional events and supporting current events. That would be led by Jonathan Tunwar. Marketing, focus on promotion of UMass brand to enable engagement, activation, advocacy, and loyalty. That is with Lisa Ryan. And then swag and merch, which is demonstrate school spirit through merchandise and swag, and the promotion of UMass internally and externally through the merchandise. That's athletics. So you can see we have 6 spots currently open. So I'm going to start off with campus experience. 2 officers for each. 2 people for campus experience.
Please, when you're giving your name, just spell it so I spell it correctly.
Campus experience.
Are there meeting times?
Not yet. They're going to be determined once they have the groups by availability. Kira?
Kira. Oh, it's not. Oh.
Okay. One more brave volunteer. It's a fun opportunity. It's a great way to get involved, meet some administrators, make some connections. All right, Julia DeMarco.
Julia DeMarco.
All right, so we need one more person for events. Who's interested in events? This is the first one I saw. As Abigail. Then Jacob, you get first priority for whichever one of the remaining 2 you want.
I mean, how do you spell the last name? F-E. Okay.
I thought Jacob. Which of the remaining 2 would you prefer? All right, so we'll do Jacob Nevins for marketing. We need 2 people for swag and merch. Who wants to help with swag and merch? How about Gianna and Charles?
John. Last name though. And who was the second? Charles.
Thank you.
Looks good.
Everyone good with their spot? Thank you very much, everybody, and may the best Eshawn win.
Is there any other business for committee of the whole? There being none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole. Motion to adjourn the committee of the whole. Senator Nevins. Second. All right. The chair has received a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. All those abstain, say abstain. All right. The Senate will be in order. The committee of the whole previously called in session stands adjourned. The Senate will continue considering the remainder of the agenda. All right. On to the election of the Speaker and the Associate Speaker of the Senate. The chair shall now be yielded to the Chancellor of Elections to conduct the election of the Speaker and Associate Speaker. Madam Chancellor.
The nomination period for candidates for Speaker of the Senate is now open. The chair will recognize any senator wishing to make a nomination for Speaker of the Senate. Every nomination must receive a second. Yes.
I nominate Ishan Dufwini for Speaker of the Senate.
Okay. The chair has received a nomination for Senator Ishan Dufwini, and a second has been received. Yes. Sorry. The chair has received a nomination for Senator Ishan Sarna, and a second has been received. If no senator wishes to make any further nomination, the nomination period for the Speaker of the Senate is closed without objection, and the chair will now read the nominations received for Speaker of the Senate. Ishan Dufwini, do you accept the nomination?
Yeah.
Ishan Sarna, do you accept the nomination? Okay. The nomination period for candidates for Associate Speaker of the Senate is now open. The chair will recognize any senator wishing to make a nomination for Associate of the Speaker. Every nomination must receive a second. The chair has received a nomination for Senator Kim, and a second has been received.
I nominate Senator
The chair has received a nomination for Senator Germain, and a second has been received. Yeah, and a second has been received. Okay, perfect. If no senator wishes to make any further nomination, the nomination period for Associate Speaker of the Senate is closed without objection, and the chair will read the nominations received for Associate Speaker of the Senate. Senator Kim, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Senator Germain, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
So each nominee in order of nomination shall now have no more than 5 minutes to address the Senate and no more than 5 minutes to entertain questions. Senator Dewey is now recognized to address the Senate for no more than 5 minutes.
All right, well. All right. Thank you, Elections Chancellor. Good evening, Senators. You've probably all seen me sitting up here, but for those of you who I haven't had a chance to speak to yet, my name is Ishan Dufwini. I currently serve as the Clerk of the Senate, a position created to assist the Speaker and Associate Speaker with their responsibilities. I meet with Michael and Melina weekly to compile motions, gather office reports, and create the week's agenda. I've also been working on establishing an electronic voting system for the Senate, which I hope to be able to present to all of you soon. But before I begin, I'd like to thank Michael and Melina for giving me the opportunity to be involved with the Office of the Speaker for the past year. It's been a valuable experience that's taught me how a good Speaker and Associate Speaker operate. Beyond my role as clerk, I serve as a senator on the Undergraduate Services Committee. They're a passionate group of hardworking people led by a great leader, Chair Kundai Mazondo. My role on USC has given me the opportunity to meet with faculty and administrators to discuss the initiatives I've been working on, namely accessibility and ADA compliance on campus. It's also given me experience in creating and executing strategic plans. Additionally, I've been working on the Structuring and Responsibilities Report with Senator Darren Tron. The goal of that report is to conduct research on the procedures of the SGA with a particular focus on the bylaws and constitution in order to create amendments that could serve to streamline our processes and improve the SGA for its officers and RSOs. I couldn't be more grateful to Darren for starting that process and for working with me to identify ways that we can make the SGA better for everyone. Working on that report has helped me identify projects that I would pursue if elected as Speaker. My running mate Cody Germain and I want to work with the future Chair of Ways and Means and the Chair of the Finance Subcommittee, as well as our advisor JD and SLSO, to have emergency funding guidelines that allow for as many RSOs as possible to benefit from the emergency fund. A few ways we could do this is by revisiting our understanding of VPN and the way we apply it to that process, ensuring that groups are responsibly using student money that we as a legislature are entrusted with allocating, and by providing resources for senators to thoroughly review financial motions. Another area of improvement Cody and I have identified is senator retention. We found a few ways to increase member retention and reduce vacancies in the Senate. One of the biggest is reducing the amount of time that we spend in Senate. Of course, we do important work here. However, Senate meetings that drag on late into the night serve as a barrier to effective work. We're all students here and we all have other commitments. We don't want SGA membership to have adverse effects on people's outside lives. To that end, firstly, we want to ensure that reports are focused on time-sensitive matters or updates that are not included in written reports. We understand the need for verbal updates to accompany the things that are written down. However, we would all benefit from more structured and concise reports. Secondly, we want to rework the motion and resolution submission timeline to extend the period of time that senators have to review motions, speak to sponsors, and propose amendments prior to Senate. This will reduce the amount of time that we spend making amendments on the Senate floor. Cody and I want to serve as a guiding hand throughout that process, helping senators with drafting and amending resolutions. We want to foster communication between sponsors and other senators with the hope that everyone will come to Senate meetings feeling more prepared. Another way we want to increase senator retention is by keeping senators in the loop about what's going on throughout the SGA to bolster a feeling of unity and inclusion. We want to increase transparency by working with the president to have regularly scheduled cross-branch meetings between the legislative and executive, the major takeaways of which would then be shared with the larger Senate. Ultimately, though, we strive for the office of the Speaker to be a place where every senator can contribute ideas and suggestions. Cody and I will always be your associate speaker and speaker. We want to listen to you, communicate with you, and give you the power to make this campus a better place. At the end of the day, you are all leaders here with great ideas about how to improve the Senate. As a speaker, I promise you, my door will always be open to anyone, whether for feedback or criticism. I want to give you all the things you need to succeed as leaders, as community builders, and as representatives of the undergraduate body. For these reasons, I hope you'll vote for Cody and I. Thank you, and I yield back.
The nominee will now entertain questions for no more than 5 minutes. The chair will now recognize any senator wishing to raise a question. Yes.
How do you plan to uphold diversity, equity, and inclusion in your, election as speaker?
Thanks for the question, Julia. That's an important. In terms of diversity, my biggest priority is choosing a group of chairs who are diverse in everything, including in the way that they think and their beliefs. Cody and I both share a strong commitment to DEI, and in terms of supporting DEI as a Senate, both of us personally believe that it is our responsibility as representatives of the undergraduate body to protect diversity, equity, and inclusion on this campus. That said, we understand people's concerns regarding that area, and we understand that there are other perspectives on the issue. For that reason, Cody and I will always make sure that our personal beliefs are always secondary to the opinion of the Senate. And to that end, we will allow the Senate to make university-wide decisions on how we should be dealing with diversity, equity, and inclusion in these unprecedented times. Thank you.
the speaker typically goes to meetings with administrators to work on like the ongoing projects. Could you speak to any experience that you've had that you think would help you with that, and maybe some of like beyond the things you already mentioned with improving the Senate, what might you be interested in doing in the broader community as a whole?
Thank you for the question. In terms of my experience in dealing with administrators, like I mentioned, part of my work at US has been working on initiatives involving accessibility and ADA compliance. To that end, I've been in communication with the Office of Disabilities. We've also spoken to administrators regarding dining, specifically kosher dining that we've been working on, and various other initiatives where we've had frequent contact with administrators. And you know, as speaker, I would kind of take what I've learned from those interactions and bring it to the role. What was the second part of your question again?
If you have any goals for the broader community as a whole.
Kind of building off my answer to the last question, as speaker, I really don't want the role to be entirely about me. I want it to be kind of a facilitating role where I'm letting the Senate mostly influence what goes on campus and give them basically as much power as possible to pursue the policy changes that they would, that they believe is in the best interest of the student body. And again, even if that conflicts with what I personally believe, I still strongly believe in the democratic process, and for that reason, I will always defer to the Senate on matters of, promoting community activities, developing the community, that sort of thing.
I was wondering where on your list of priorities is protecting First Amendment rights for students and student advocacy?
Thank you for the question. Look, what I personally think about, what's been going on with the Trump administration and with the revocation of international student visas is that I think it's abhorrent. I think that it's undemocratic. It's a violation of their rights, and I strongly stand against it. And my personal belief is that we should all stand against it. That said, again, I will be deferring to the Senate in that matter. I believe that you all are best equipped to make that decision, that it's democratic and fair to let you all make that decision as elected representatives of the undergraduate student body. And to that end, I believe that it is with the will and backing of the Senate that I will be pursuing protections for the First Amendment rights of students on campuses, with a particular emphasis on the most vulnerable communities, such as international students.
As speaker, you facilitate debate. So I'm wondering, how will you make sure, as speaker, to facilitate a kind debate and one that gets things done?
Okay. So Senators, Chair Sarna is now recognized to address the Senate for no more than 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, and good evening, SGA. In case you don't already know me, my name is Ishan Sarna, and I currently serve as the chair of the Outreach and Development Committee. I'm a junior double majoring in managerial economics and psychology with a minor in IT. And tonight, I'm asking for your vote to serve as the next Speaker of the Senate. Like many of you here, I joined SGA as a freshman, unsure, frankly, of what I was doing. I remember walking to the Cape Cod Lounge for the first time, surrounded by people who spoke in bylaws, policy lingo, and acronyms that would read. I remember asking my committee chair at the end of my first meeting, who is Robert and why should we follow his rules? I wasn't sure where I fit in or if I belonged with the SGA at all, and at times I even considered leaving. But I stayed, and I'm glad I did, because through the SGA I found not just a team of like-minded, dedicated, passionate student leaders, but a space to grow and a platform to initiate tangible change on our campus. Through my time in the SGA, I've held a bunch of different positions. Starting off as a senator for the class of 2026, I went on to be appointed as the vice chair of the Outreach and Development Committee and the first chair of the Internal Development Subcommittee after its inception in spring 2024. Finally, I've had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Outreach and Development Committee this past year, a position that I deeply value and cherish. All the positions I have held and have given me the opportunity to work closely with a number of folks in SGA on efforts ranging from strengthening senator onboarding, establishing more gender-neutral bathrooms across campus. With Speaker Flanagan and Associate Speaker Amaradis, I had the chance to not just bring many of my projects to fruition, but also experience what thoughtful, intentional leadership looks like. With Secretary Ahmed, I worked to improve the SGA's social media presence and achieve historical turnouts in 2 consecutive election cycles. Above all, I want to thank the senators that I've had the chance to work alongside: Morgan, my vice chair and the emergency contact I didn't know I needed; Juliet, Jacob, Adana, Marcus, Sudeep, Abby, and Saniha who aren't here today. You've all been the backbone of every effort that I've led. It was this team that helped me lead the most competitive Senate vacancy application cycle in recent years throughout winter break. My tenure as the chair of ODC has been critical to my growth as a leader, has given me valuable insights into the SGA's operations, and strengthened my commitment to impactful leadership. And it is this drive that I would bring to my role as a speaker. For many years, the SGA has struggled with senator retention, especially having seen many of my friends drop out of the SGA. This is an issue that has been central to my efforts in all my roles. When I was appointed to chair the Internal Development Subcommittee last year, I knew this couldn't be remedied with just one bonding. Retention comes from culture, a strong sense that this work matters and that we matter to each other. That's why Morgan and I have worked hard to create sustained spaces for bonding, mentorship, and support. And further, as the vice chair of the ODC, I worked alongside my predecessor to reintroduce the mentorship program after many years to provide newly elected or appointed senators with a mentor to guide them through their first few weeks. But we all know that it's not just about feelings, but also about structure. As speaker, I will lead efficient, purposeful meetings that value everyone's time and center their role as students first. I will continue Michael's efforts on procedural and bylaw literacy to empower all senators to participate in these meetings. I also hope to rethink Senate training. We all know what it feels like to sit through 2 7-hour Senate training sessions that leave us more overwhelmed than prepared. And I look forward to introducing a phased onboarding process with follow-up workshops throughout the semester to revisit procedure and ensure that every senator feels prepared to navigate the SGA. A huge part of retention is also making sure that senators feel like their work is seen and valued, which is why I hope to work with the chair of AO and other actors to continue the ongoing efforts to secure academic credit for SGA involvement. Enhancing the environment of the SGA will require taking necessary steps to improve the cohesion between the legislative and executive branches. This year, we've witnessed a widening disconnect between the 2 branches, which has hurt our ability to serve students. And as speaker, I will prioritize cross-branch collaboration by emphasizing the value of transparency and open communication within this body. Transparency is the foundation of good and effective governance, and I will ensure that it remains a priority throughout my tenure. We may not always agree, but disagreement should not lead to dysfunction. As speaker, I will foster an environment where every member of the SGA feels valued, seen, and heard, and ensure that we don't lose sight of our common goal, which is to serve the students of this university. As we work to strengthen our own organization, we cannot forget the broader political reality that we are operating in. As an international student, I've experienced firsthand the uncertainty that is weighing us all down. The fears that a visa may be revoked, that your rights may not be protected, or that your presence is conditional. These are not abstract policy issues, but real lived experiences. The international student community at UMass has historically felt alienated by the SGA, and this has happened not out of malice, but out of habit, and given the urgency of the current political moment, this needs to end now. As speaker, I will work to ensure that international students are not only represented, but empowered in our Senate. I look forward to working with the Associate Secretary of International Services on initiatives that bridge the gap between the SGA and the international student community at UMass to targeted outreach and leadership opportunities. I want to create institutional structures, like a dedicated advising role or liaison within the SGA, to support international students navigating various challenges, including those related to legal complications and cultural differences. I also plan to explore potential partnerships.
The nominee will now entertain questions for no more than 5 minutes. The chair will now recognize any senator wishing to raise a question.
I know you touched upon this, but I still want to know. I know you touched upon this, but I still want to know more about how your role specifically as the speaker will help you support international student community more on campus.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I was just going to get to that. But including everything that I just said, I just hope to look for any and all kind of collaborations and partnerships, be it within the SGA, within legislative, within executive, to kind of see how we can better make the SGA more accessible to international students. As an international student myself, with a lot of other students from like various countries and various backgrounds, I have heard from them that we don't have a lot of programs and we don't have a lot of initiatives targeted towards them, which also makes being involved in the SGA kind of like a alien concept to students, especially given kind of the volatile political moment we're in. Another point that I had was that I hope to work with SLSO, the Office of Global Affairs, and the Administrative Affairs Committee to ensure that our policies, training, resources, they consider the needs and experiences of international students. I'm very open to feedback. If there's any senator who's international, any chair, any maybe cabinet member who's an international student, I'd be open to hearing from them how we can make Senate better and more accessible for international students.
So if elected as speaker, the speaker plays a really important role in guiding the Senate, and it's crucial that they are impartial. So I was just wondering, what action steps have you taken to remain impartial as a chair, and what action steps will you take if you're elected speaker to remain impartial?
Thank you for the question. Speaking of my own experience as chair, I think I've always led my committee meetings with full integrity. I've opened it up to discussion. There's been a lot of times specifically, I want to kind of mention when we were doing deliberations for Senate, we made sure that nothing that the candidates said, maybe that might have suggested, that their views on any matter were being different from ours. We didn't consider that in our, deliberation process. We made sure that we were impartial, because I think it's only through diversity that we can become a strong body. If we don't have opposing views, if we don't have, a diversity of views within the Senate, I think that doesn't lead to being productive. And seeing the kind of important work that we've done so far this year, it wouldn't have come if it wasn't for the senators and the different views and just members in general bringing their own ideas here. So that's kind of what I've done, in my role as chair, and I definitely hope to continue that in my role as Senate.
So you mentioned in your speech how you want to lower the total amount of time we spend here in the Senate. I'd just like for you to elaborate on what specifically you plan to do in order to shorten the meeting times.
I think it's definitely been a common grievance this year that the meetings are too long and we're spending too much time here. It's 11 p.m. and you're still kind of here. One thing that I definitely want to kind of emphasize on is that for me, it's practicality over procedural complications. I think a lot of the time that we spend here in Senate is wasted over just, people not knowing procedures. So I think part of that is also connecting to my point about educating senators and educating SGA officers on procedures, so that during the meeting itself, things run seamlessly. So that's one of the things that I want to do definitely. Second is limiting discussions, going to productive discussions. A lot of times, a lot of remarks are made, or a lot of discussions happen that don't necessarily contribute to the, what we're discussing in the meeting or what's in the agenda, or they just kind of go off track. So definitely limiting that, especially on nights where we know we're going to have, a heavy agenda and there's a lot to discuss on the table. So those are some steps.
Okay, thank you very much. You mentioned a lot about your role as the chair in ODC and also in the chair of internal development. What is your quantitative metrics to make sure that you're on track? And I would say, what kind of metrics would make you a successful candidate? A successful chair, and if you were to be elected speaker, what kind of metrics you're going to base on, and how you're going to measure that?
By metrics, you mean like my record, as chair?
Yes, record as chair.
I think an accomplishment that I'm really proud of, both mine and my committee's accomplishment, is just leading the most.
Thank you. That was your time. Yeah. Senator Kim is now recognized to address the Senate for no more than 5 minutes. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chancellor, and good evening to everyone here. Thank you for considering me to be your associate speaker next year. If you don't already know me, my name is Morgan Chesham Kim. I'm a first-year history and political science major, and since this past fall, I've had the great honor of serving as a senator, the vice chair of the Outreach and Development Committee, and the vice chair of the Internal Development Select Subcommittee. Serving as your associate speaker alongside Chair Sarna, I will ensure that this group remains active and involved. For me, that means creating and emphasizing the importance of bonding events, like things that are done for the Internal Development Select Subcommittee, and making sure that Senate meetings are a space where everyone, regardless of their level of involvement in the Senate, whether they're an officer, just a normal student, or even like a member of an organization at RSO, they have a place where they can feel involved and included in discussions. No senator or cabinet member can do what they're doing now alone. The strength of our voice as a legislative body, just on a foundational basis, relies on our communication with our constituents, and I want to continue amplifying that chain of communication as your associate speaker. However, I also want to emphasize that I don't want to just talk about the roles that I have. Having 10 positions on the resume doesn't mean anything if you can't speak to how those roles have helped you grow your own individual abilities and your organization. Change is built on what you've done, not the letters on your lapel. Starting with winter break, I conducted about 50 interviews as a member of ODC, and in the last week of January, I was interviewing as many as 8 people every day from noon to 5 p.m. And it took a lot out of me, but I'm really happy that we had so many great people apply and that we have such an amazing cast of vacancy interviews. But also, being part of ODC and going through that process brought me closer to my chair and my committee, helping us develop a really strong working relationship that we'll use as a foundation for the expansion of the speaker and associate speaker role. Using our experience as the chair and vice chair of ODC, we want to focus on outreach opportunities to create a coordinated Senate that best represents and serves the student body. And looking at the results of the recent elections, I'm really happy to say that I think we can make a really big change and help further galvanize and energize the Senate. As a subcommittee chair for IDSC, I've hosted bonding events, which many of you have attended, thank you so much, and formed stronger relationships between not only myself and others, but also between other members of the Senate. I've been recording minutes, filing records for meetings, and I'm already familiar with accessing some public records and filling out the necessary information to help schedule, record, and just get all the information down for Senate meetings. I also want to echo the importance, again, of my established relationship with Chair Sarna. Ishan has helped me meet and work with so many amazing people in the SGA, and I couldn't be more thankful for everything that he's done as my guide in the SGA. I also want to thank Juliet for being my mentor in the fall and just being an amazing fellow committee member these past few months. I can say with confidence to the whole Senate that it's been a pleasure and a grand honor working alongside you all. With all this in mind, I can say with confidence, again, that if elected as your associate speaker, I'll be actively responding to any questions or comments you have regarding the Senate agenda, whether you're sending me a friend an email or asking me to put something on the agenda, or even just a question you have about procedure. But Senate isn't just about motions and reports. I want to be able to serve all of you as someone who can help with resolutions, conflict resolution, and also statements of Senate sentiment. I also want to say that I'm really proud to just be here every day, every Wednesday, going to committee meetings, going to Senate meetings, serving with and helping you all. I seriously couldn't have asked for a more amazing first year. It's been so cool just even walking around dining halls and seeing all these amazing people that I know. Really no one could do it without you guys. But one other thing I want to touch on is it would be remiss to miss this, but Senate retention. Obviously that's a big thing, especially in this past year. You've had lots of people dropping out, people struggling to find the time, find a place in the SGA even. So continuing my efforts as a member of IDSC, I want to make sure that every senator has a place where they can get involved and also get acquainted with other people. I want to make sure that as associate speaker, I'll be monitoring and proactively reaching out to senators who are unsure of their place in the SGA. But factoring into that also means that I want to make the SGA office a place where people can just speak freely and spend more time. I want the SGA office to be a place where everyone can just come here and hang out, study, talk to people, ask for advice on classes. I can speak to just Dale and Nick, who gave me advice on professors and classes that I should or shouldn't take, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. Genuinely, this semester I've had amazing professors, and I can point to specific people from that. But also, I want to continue working with Chair Sarna, faculty members, and other people in legislative leadership to also explore credit learning opportunities for Senate members. I think that not that we're only here for that, like some like lofty incentive, but I think it would really help to just like, hey, like here's one way that we can make sure that we have a really good, strong, committed cast, and then here's something that like there's another reward alongside just like being able to be active and serve your student body. I'm also. Oh.
Thank you. That was your time. The nominee will now entertain questions for no more than 5 minutes. The chair will recognize any senator wishing to raise a question. Yes.
This looks so loud. So you mentioned in your speech conflict resolution. So I was just wondering if you could speak more to what steps you've taken in your position as ODC and IDSC chair in conflict resolution. What steps you'll continue to take if elected associate speaker to remain impartial as well. Sure. I mean, debate is like the foundation of the SGA as an organization. We can't have like productive conversation. We can't have progress without having some dissent. Granted, I think that like I haven't had the unfortunate circumstance of like having to like listen to two people screaming at me on the other side, like Michael and Melina arguing about something. At least not yet. But if that were to happen, I would make sure that as associate speaker, I'll be as neutral and open as possible. And like, if that means just like listening to people out, if they want any response, I'll be happy to give that. But also just making sure that again, the Senate office, the SGA office, that should be someplace where everyone feels included, everyone feels respected. And if you're having a conversation with me, I want to make sure that I'm factoring in your personal views, your personal perspective, where you're coming from, and I don't want to alienate anyone within the SGA, regardless of how much I might disagree or agree with you. Thank you.
Where is First Amendment rights, protecting First Amendment rights, and student advocacy on you and Senator Sarna's list of priorities?
I speak with privilege as an in-state student. I am a citizen of the United States, but I think that especially right now, it's really important that we make sure that international students are protected. If you're worried about, and like, if you don't feel comfortable speaking at your university, there's something like horribly wrong. I want to make sure that everyone, again, regardless of your personal perspective, has a place to speak at this university. Protecting that in the face of President Trump's administration is like, I can't emphasize more like how upset I am, like reading every day what's happening across our country. And frankly, it's like, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my best friend or if I've never met you. Like, the First Amendment is like one of the, like, that should be the starting point for everything. And it's really tragic that we can't rely on that from our presidency right now.
Okay. There's no more questions at this time. Okay. One more question. Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't want to go for 2 questions, but no one else asked. So just gonna ask your stance on DEI if elected as associate speaker. So I can speak quickly. Just like I'm in state, but I'm also a person of color. I also consider myself queer. I think that like being as inclusive as possible, not only in the process of like filling senator vacancies, but also just like making sure, again, regardless of who you are, your background, like you have a place within this organization. I don't think that we could be like the amazing representative legislative body that we are if we didn't have all these like different opinions and perspectives. I think it just makes it feel beautiful. You'll joke about like the school taking pictures of like your multicultural group of friends. I think SGA is all that and more. Everyone comes to the Senate like with a cultural org in their background, or like just like a personal family perspective. And I think making sure that everyone has a place to share that, like sharing like a dance event that's coming up or like a cultural performance. Like if we can bring all of that to Senate and bring that energy and also like bring senators to those events, I think that would just be fantastic. And that's something I want to keep working for as chair of IDSC this semester. Thank you, Naren.
Do we have any more questions? No. Yeah, back there.
Oh yeah. So basically, I just want to ask. So there's a nylon band here, right? So basically,
the more the Senate speak out about the DEI initiative and things like that, could put potential harm to the international student as a senators and as a student, because that put our school in more of the spotlight under the Trump administration. How are you going to be able to balance that, satisfy both the will of the Senate and also protect the safety of the student, international student? That's the question.
I mean, that's like, it's a really personal issue. I don't want, like, it would be a nightmare for me, I'm sure everyone in this room, if we pushed out the resolution and it turned out that as a result, like, we had international students get their visas revoked, we got deported from that. I think that would be just like horrible on a scale that I can't even put to words. I think that make sure that there are avenues to have, not necessarily anonymous, but like, I don't think that we should be putting international students in the spotlight for like every event, but like.
That was your time.
Thank you.
Senator Germain is now recognized to address the Senate for no more than 5 minutes.
Thank you, Elections Chancellor, and good evening, fellow members of the Senate. Before I begin, I'd like to apologize if I'm a little hoarse. I'm just coming off of a cold. I proudly stand before you all here tonight to run for the position of Associate Speaker. For those of you who do not yet know me, I'm Cody Germain, a first-year public policy major and soon-to-be education minor, and I currently serve as a senator on the Administrative Affairs Committee and as the chair of the Rules and Ethics Subcommittee. I joined the student government last fall because I wanted to make a direct positive impact here on my community here at UMass. While serving as a senator and a chair this year, I have been able to learn an incredible amount about the way the Senate functions and how the bylaws serve as a fundamental framework for our operations as a body. As a member of AA, I've had firsthand experience learning, interpreting, and creating change within the bylaws, which will be a critical skill that I will be able to bring to the associate speakership. As the chair of Rules and Ethics, I have been able to help further reforms first enacted by Chair Centenaro and Speaker Flanagan, as well as advise on bylaw amendments. Through these actions, I've become well-versed in parliamentary procedure, which will serve me well as chief parliamentarian of the Senate. Many times throughout this year, I've had to get into the nitty-gritty of the bylaws, and I've quite enjoyed it. In fact, I've enjoyed it so much that I want to do it even more next year. If elected to Associate Speaker, I would want to conduct a comprehensive review of the bylaws and Constitution, which has not been done in quite some time. Through this comprehensive review and reevaluation, I would look deeper into ways in which we can support the legislative branch. I will advocate for clearer expectations, more consistent resources, and streamlined communication between leadership and committees. Additionally, I will work to reduce the workload for the Ways and Means Committee, potentially dividing it up in the way that it was several years ago. This would allow for the committees to not only have a more manageable workload, but also the ability to have an increased specialization within their work. Through this review, I will help conduct a deeper dive into the way that viewpoint neutrality is used by the Senate. We have all seen the ways in which our funding process works, and I think we can all agree that something must change. After speaking with JD and Sid, Dr. Betty and I believe that the best way to address this is by working with the future chairs of both the Ways and Means Committee and the Finance Subcommittee to reevaluate the way that VPN is applied in our funding guidelines. We must have a more common sense approach to funding to ensure that all RSOs are treated equitably. I am honored to have assisted Senator Trong and Clerk DeBetty in their incredible work on the Structuring and Responsibilities Report, which will be presented to Senate in the coming weeks. Through this report, we will be shown the efficacy of the Senate in the last 10 years, and we will see ways in which we may be able to improve our operations. When talking to fellow senators or simply looking around the Senate chamber as the clock ticks later and later into the night, I notice that many of us feel like Senate meetings can sometimes run longer than necessary. One way that Clerk DeBetty and I plan on addressing this is by limiting report outs to only pressing matters that are not already included in the written reports. I truly do appreciate the detailed report outs, but I believe that verbal updates should focus solely on new or time-sensitive information that has not already been included in the written reports. Another thing I believe to be important is communication. Something I would like to do as Associate Speaker is to create more cross-branch communication, especially on initiatives. I have spoken to the President and Vice President-elect, and we all believe that communication between the executive and legislative branches is integral to the functioning of the student government. Communication is important not just internally, but externally as well. As Associate Speaker, I would open communication with the graduate student government and make sure that our core four and theirs always have open lines of contact. The problems facing the students on this campus are often not just undergraduate problems, and working with the GSG would be an incredible opportunity. As Associate Speaker, I would be a nonpartisan avenue for change. I believe that Speaker Flanagan and Associate Speaker Amaratis have done a wonderful job in their roles, and I would continue their hard work and lead in a similar fashion. I want to create a welcoming and supportive environment in which all senators can come to me with any questions or concerns they may have. I want the Senate to be a place in which all people feel they have the ability to speak freely without fear of retaliation. And I want to be an Associate Speaker for all. Because whether we agree or disagree on the issues, at the end of the day, we're all here to represent the UMass community, and we do that by working together, because it is together that we thrive. So please, vote for Clerk Tuvetti and I, and with that, I yield my time. Thank you.
The nominee will now entertain questions for no more than 5 minutes. The chair will now recognize any senator wishing to raise a question.
Every time, turn the mic on. Same question that I asked Senator Kim. What action steps have you taken in your current position to remain impartial, and what action steps will you take if elected as Associate Speaker to remain impartial?
Sure. So, thank you for that question. As the chair of the Rules and Ethics, I've had some experience chairing a committee, and as a committee chair, you must remain impartial. I think that's crucial to the functioning of your committee. And so through that, I've been able to learn a bit about how you can be impartial leading some group of senators. And watching Michael and Melina's good work as a speaker and associate speaker, I've seen how being impartial has led to an effective functioning of the student government.
Executive branch next year? I can repeat. I didn't know because I didn't want to, with the time still going. Can you talk about any past experience you have working with the executive branch and how you'll work with the executive branch and president and vice president next year, and how you'll work with them on any conflicts that arise next year?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I haven't gotten a chance to work too much with the executive branch yet this year. I have sat on a couple of committees with the executive branch, and I have met with Mike and Gianna, and we've talked about some ideas that we have for the upcoming year. And so we have a lot of views that align pretty well, and so I believe that we would be able to work well together, sort of as a legislative body and an executive body. Does that answer all parts of your question? Okay, thank you.
Again, I'm asking where on your priorities is First Amendment rights, protecting student advocacy on campus?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for that question. I would say that First Amendment rights are an incredibly high priority for both Clerk Tuvetti and I, if we were to be elected as Speaker and Associate Speaker. Like Clerk Tuvetti said, and others have said, as Associate Speaker, I would have my opinion fall second to that of the Senate. I would ensure that the Senate has all information necessary to make their decisions, and then I would leave the decisions up to that of the Senate. Thank you.
I really like what you said about reworking like viewpoint neutrality. I'm curious what you mean. Like, can you go more in depth about like how you would allocate funds equitably to RSMs?
Yeah. So our current emergency funding process, I believe to be a little bit flawed when we have only a certain amount of money, and we have large groups come in, or we have groups come in and request large amounts of money, and we give them that money, and then now all of a sudden we've run out. And now I believe right now our emergency fund is depleted or very close to being depleted, and we cannot afford to give groups any more money. And I feel like that is inequitable, and we should rework the way that we approach funding guidelines to allow for the Senate to have more discretion over the funds and the way that we appropriate those funds to groups through the emergency funding process. Thank you.
So in terms of the emergency fund, it actually is not depleted right now. But I also just wanted to say, I'm curious how you are going to reassess VPN when it's something that has been so integral to the SGA and ensures that we remain equitable to all groups, and in giving emergency funding out, how you're going to avoid discriminating against groups who do request through that oversight. Like, you didn't really give any details to how you're going to do that, so we're just kind of explain how you're going to conduct oversight without violating the viewpoints of specific groups.
Absolutely, thank you for that question. So when I talk about a reevaluation of viewpoint neutrality, I mean it more in the way of when groups come in and they request things like plane tickets or things like that, and we sort of as a Senate are a bit more restricted than I think we should be. And after speaking with our SGA advisors, they seem to have agreed a little bit on the way that VPN is a little bit too restrictive that doesn't allow us to have enough discretion over funding. And so if a group comes in and asks for a lot of money for like plane tickets, we should be able to.
Thank you. That was your time.
Sorry if you're not answering that question all the way.
Okay. The following nominations for Speaker of the Senate have been received by the Chair and seconded: Ishan Devetti and Ishan Sarna. The following nominations for Associate Speaker of the Senate have been received by the Chair and seconded: Morgan Kim and Cody Germain. A ballot will be distributed to each senator. Each senator shall cast from the list of nominations recorded for each office 1 vote for Speaker of the Senate above the fold of the ballot and 1 vote for Associate Speaker below the fold of the ballot. Please use the nominees' full names. Upon the distribution of ballots, senators shall have 5 minutes to cast the vote.
Yes, Michael, can you give directions really quick on the names because people aren't studying?
Yes. Off the ballot so we can get the names up on the screen. Please hold for the names to be displayed on the screen. A reminder, only senators can vote. You don't have to write Please remain silent while you're voting. Please raise your hand if you are a senator and did not receive a ballot. Okay, please hold. And look at the names on the screen. Please. Okay, just whenever you can, sorry. I just want to make sure. Okay. Can everyone read the board? All right, please remain silent. 5 minutes start now. Everyone, we're going to come around and collect the ballots from you. So please follow the directions and fold it when you're done. And when 5 minutes is up, Associate Speaker Honoratus and I will come around and confirm that it's senators who are voting and also voting using one ballot.
That would have been the last one. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Oh no. Wait, sorry. Yeah, me neither.
You can go to drugs.
Okay, the voting period has concluded, and the chair will now retrieve the ballots to be counted by the Elections Commission.
No. I don't know. You have to find something. Some days you have to make sacrifices.
Was anyone's ballot not collected? Okay. The Senate will now stand in a brief recess pending the completion of the counting of the ballots by the Elections Commission. Please remain in the chamber.
June is 6 months, right? No, April 3rd. Yeah. Thank you. Wait, what year is it? I'm 224.
Wait, that's 2006. Mine is 2004. December 7th. What the No, but I was
When I was in like master.
You buy a house, like get like a bunch of houses.
He said the thing now. Oh, we're actually alive.
We did a that might have been like 10 years ago.
What am I supposed to be at?
This is insane. This is insane. This should not be.
But then when I like, oh my god. Oh yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
No way!
Wow.
Never mind. I'm married to
Yeah.
Wait, this is good. I love cakes.
See the oil at the bottom? This oil is
Either way.
What? Was it the voices? Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. You're the sirens. Don't listen. It's been a really busy
Is that why you asked me for my birthday?
No, maybe.
No, I get my story.
You said a wonderful birthday, even though I will be like multiple, many miles away. Well, not even.
Wait, Julia, where are you going? So what's like not even 50 miles?
Were you gonna be at campus or something?
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Oh, so you're just gonna stay here?
Do you still use them? Yeah, that's not
Just UMass operates part of it. UMass operates like the Amherst local route to actual PVPA.
I wish I was like the same one you got things like the numbers
It's so brutal. It's like, I feel like I'm just most iron, solid, every single day, I feel like 5 hours. And then just sit up pepper before it drops.
And literally, I didn't get this far.
And then you have to like, and then you're like, oh, I'd rather take it's so bad.
And if you honestly kind of
And then they just don't say anything. You're like, oh, okay.
and then you see some other guy, like, he knows like, it's like, how do you do it?
Okay, the Senate will be in order. The Elections Commission has concluded the counting of the ballots. For each election of the Speaker of the Senate, Senator DeVetti received 25 votes. Senator Sarna received 17 votes. Senator Germain received 24 votes, and Senator Kim received 18. Having received a majority of the of the total ballots cast, the chair declares Senator DeBetti as Speaker-elect of the Senate and Senator Germain to be Associate Speaker-elect of the Senate. The chair shall now yield back to the Speaker of the Senate.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations to Clerk DeVetti and Senator Germain for their All right, let me get situated. All right. All right, the Senate received no special orders 48 hours prior to the meeting. The Senate has no unfinished business. Meaning that the Senate will now consider S91, a motion to fund the Black Mass Community Project at $35,067.68. This motion was reviewed by the DA Fund Committee on March 12, 2025, and was reported favorably. Sponsorship is now recognized to make factual description on the motion.
Hi guys, it's me again. I'm here with the Black Mass Community Project, also known as BMCP, and they're going to show you guys a quick presentation on their event happening on Saturday, April 26th. So please pay attention to them, and if you have any questions, ask them as well. And also, since their event is happening, you can use it as one of your ESO events, so please attend. Thank you.
Let's give them a warm welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Hayden Prevalon. I'm the president of the Black Mass Community Project. I've been president for this past year, and yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Addison. I'm vice president of BMCP. I've been vice president for this past year. I first came on as a sophomore as a financial coordinator.
Go to the next slide.
First things first, we do want to say thank you in advance for giving us the opportunity to present to the Senate, to advocate for our organization in hopes to receive the DIA fund. We understand this is a thorough process, and yet again, we appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to be here today. So some key topics we're going to go over today. First things first, we're going to help you guys understand what BMCP is, what we stand for, and what we do as an organization. Also go over some ways we intend to keep student engagement, and last but not least, to help you guys understand the importance of our event.
So the legacy of BMCP. SoulFest Week is a week that happens every year annually, and it's basically a week of cultural events put on by the cultural RSOs. So that includes the Black Student Union, the Cape Verdean Student Association, UMass Relief Union, Student Bridges, the Haitian American Student Association, the African Student Association, and the Students of Caribbean Ancestry. So each week, that week is called SoulFest, and each year that word is fit into a word that goes into soul. So last year's theme was sold out dates, basically where a show that's sold out, it's that kind of event, you want to go there because it's everybody wants to go there. This year's theme is Soulchella, Coachella, which is the California themed desert. The desert in California is a musical festival, and basically that's the theme of this year. So with that being said, it's basically an event that promotes cultural organizations to engage with the UMass community by showcasing all their cultural aspects and everything that has to do with their traditions, and as well as fostering unity. And it connects the community through a long week of celebrations that highlights the diversity and the cultural richness of the UMass community. It's a continued tradition, as I mentioned. It's been happening every year for the past at least 2 decades, I'd like to say. And it's something that all of the UMass community has been looking forward to, especially the Black student population.
So before I get into why we applied the SGA fund, we do want to bring to light that we understand there's a lot of financial constraints, especially in today's administration, and we understand that this administration will inevitably affect federally funded colleges such as ours. And with that being said, we applied for this fund in hopes of receiving some financial assistance to ensure that we can continue to have our barbecue event, which has always been a free and enjoyable event for all UMass students. A lot of students look forward to this event all semester, all year. It's a nice way for students to disengage a little bit from academics and unwind before the tumultuous week of finals that is right after. So it gives them a chance to relax and unwind before this event. So some quick information about our event. It's in lot 33, which is the visitor parking lot on University Drive. It is on April 26th, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this year, it's a collaboration with the RHA Residence Hall Association. We'll have free food from UMass Catering, as well as various other attractions such as mechanical bulls, a roller rink, and much more.
So we just wanted to provide our marketing plan to show you guys how we basically structure SoulFest Week, specifically for BMCP. So first off, we start discussing it amongst our, organization and, putting everything together. So our goal basically is to unite the UMass students through food, music, culture, while maintaining safety as a #1 priority. Our target audience has always been undergrads, first years, because they are very new to the university. We want to just give them a taste of that college lifestyle with, community and culture and just fun, inclusive events. Our promo strategy includes short form content, which is skits, countdowns, outfit videos on Instagram and TikTok. So, with that being said, if you guys ever want to check out our skit, we have just started a new TV show technically called The RSO, and it's filmed basically like The Office and Abbott Elementary is a mockumentary style. And we basically have our first episode up right now. It's a pilot episode, so if you want to check that out, it's at UMass BMCP. And we also collab with cross organizations, so like I said, BSU, HUS, etc., for reposts and co-promo. And we have flyers and Instagram polls just to really maintain that engagement. So we just wanted to show you guys our flyers for the upcoming event. This is for the Coachella barbecue. As I mentioned, it is Coachella themed, and so we incorporated a lot of desert themed imagery and as well like Western imagery, because that's really a theme commonly seen in the Coachella outfits we've seen in the past. And this will be a flyer that we'll be posting to show all the students on campus will be included at this event, which includes a 22-foot-inch slide, an outdoor roller rink, as Addie mentioned, a rage room that will be contained. You'll be able to go inside and let out your rage and all that stuff, but it'll be in protective gear and things like that. We're going to have a dunk tank. We're gonna have a meltdown and the mechanical bull, as mentioned, and this inflatable dunk type of thing. It's gonna be a really, really great event, and we hope to see you guys there.
So just to quickly go over our funding plan and to tell you guys where the money that we do receive from this fund is going to go to. It'll pay for sound equipment, live entertainment, event operations, and risk management. We do have a risk management plan. It'll be on the slide later in the presentation. So some of our current revenue streams that we do have is our Dine to Donate, where 10% of the proceeds for the day from Chili's go to our organization. And we also have 2 ticketed events, and we're looking to hopefully have more ticketed events in the future. Homecoming is the event that we have in September, and SoulFest Party is the event that we have the Saturday after our barbecue. So some key reasons why I think we should receive this fund. Over 1,000 students come to this event from all over UMass. Like I mentioned earlier, this is an event that a lot of students look forward to. It's also 100% free access, so we're not charging students for any ticketing. Hence the reason we're looking for funding from this event, so we can keep it a free event for all students. And last but not least, SGA visibility. If you guys fund us, students would perceive you guys in a nice light if you guys pay for these events, or at least help us pay for these events to ensure that we can continue to have them in the future. Just to quickly go over our logistical plan, we have finalized our logistical plan and our AFS, which is the agreement for services with the source. We also have an event layout where we have a map of where everything is going to go so that our vendors are aware
and so that our e-board is aware of where they need to be for the event. We also have a risk management plan, which includes 2 EMTs on site for any medical emergencies that may arise, 8 security staff and a supervisor to maintain order, 4 police officers and a supervisor for safety and crowd control. Our volunteers, which include members from our e-board and the RHA, are going to be on hand at all times to ensure that all emergency protocols and de-escalation techniques are followed. And last but not least, participants will sign waivers in order to enjoy the rides and the games. This basically ensures that we're not held liable for any sort of accidental injury that may occur.
So this is covering our project timeline and how it looks like when it comes to planning SoFest. So over the course of the fall semester, we have ongoing weekly meetings and we brainstorm ideas for upcoming SoFest as well as additional events for our organizations. We do tasks, we track progress, and we have collaboration meetings with campus organizations to enhance the event. Then from January to February, we start reaching out to our vendors, or we start securing sound, security, EMT services, just to collect those invoices, those quotes, to have them to present to our advisors and have everything in order before we return back to campus after the winter break. Then around March, we start promoting our events. So we contact a graphic organizer, designer, and we have them start creating our social media flyers, and we start promoting our social media campaign and start creating those collaborations that we have with the additional orgs part of SoFest. Then around April, which is this time, so this is what we're doing actively right now, we confirm our vendors, and our event logistics with our advisors amongst our e-board as well, and we organize performance schedules and volunteer coordination. April 26th, which is the morning of the barbecue, we will have the food, the cultural performances, the activities, and then in the evening is when we're having our now titled Soulcella After Hours Party. It used to be called Co-Black, and this will be a celebration in the Student Union Ballroom, and it's a new venue for cost efficiency, as last year and the years prior, Co-Black was in Millen Center, but they have completely skyrocketed their prices in getting this venue, so we decided to just bring it to something lower scale to provide more comfortability for not only just the RSO itself and our funding, but also the community as well. And then around early May, we'll have a post-event evaluation. We'll have a debrief meeting with our advisors, all the presidents of the e-boards as well as our own e-boards as well, to discuss the event, to see what the success is and see how we can improve for the next year. So this is our mission alignment and how this supports the university's mission of equity and inclusion. At first, it enriches the cultural understanding and promotes diversity amongst UMass. This is an event that is open to all students. It is not just for African-American students, Black students, or just POCs. It's open to all students in all ethnicities and cultures. We would love for everyone to become a part of our cultures and see what makes us us, and understand that and be a part of it as well. It celebrates and appreciates African-American culture. It contributes to just the rich tapestry of cultures we have on campus as a whole. There are so many cultures on this campus, and I see it from day to day with all the events that go on, all the organizations that are taking place on campus. And as I mentioned, it really just emphasizes inclusivity and hospitality. I welcome all individuals from all backgrounds to come participate in this event. This barbecue is for everyone. We would love to have everyone there, and every year we're constantly looking ways to improve, to have everyone to attend and find something to do at the barbecue that just helps everyone out and have that moment of de-stress, as Hattie mentioned, as we are about to go into the final exam season.
So some benefits for the UMass community I did want to go over briefly. One of the most important, in my opinion, is student leadership and engagement. As the bullet point says, it provides the leadership opportunities, skill development, and collaboration among student organizations. I truly believe that this helps students on the e-board develop skills such as teamwork, event planning, and risk management, which I believe are 3 very important skills that can help any student conquer the workforce after college. It also enhances UMass's reputation, positioning UMass as an institution that values diversity and supports cultural initiatives. I do want to mention that a lot of students who come from underrepresented groups, they value diversity heavily when it comes to choosing what college to go to. So this positions UMass, as I mentioned earlier, they value diversity. And last but not least is financial need. As I mentioned earlier in the first slide, we understand there's a lot of financial constraints occurring with today's administration. So any sort of contribution that SGA can offer can go a long way to help ensure we can keep this event for years to come.
just to continue on that and how it benefits the UMass community, like I mentioned before, it promotes diversity and inclusion, and it just reinforces UMass's commitment to celebrating all cultures. As you can see over here, we have some of the performances that we have at the barbecue. So we have performances from Aphrodite's, which is a dance team from the ASA, as Anaya is a part of. And they are one of the most favorited dance teams on campus. We always keep them for last because everyone's looking forward to them. We have El Remedio, which is part of the Contagio group. We also have IPST. These are some images from barbecue last year to just show you how many of our students come out from not only just UMass, but also the surrounding colleges. So with this, like I was saying, it just benefits just culture enrichment. It showcases Black culture. It showcases our performances and our music and our food, while also welcoming all to come and experience this culture, to be a part of it, to thrive in it, to cultivate in it, to understand how it works, to see the beauty in it, and truly just enjoy this event. And it also just brings students together. I have seen so many friendships form during this week. SoFest Week as a whole is when everyone on campus is just all smiles and all just ready to just befriend anyone. People who haven't spoken to each other in years or months. Like that one person you saw in your first year of freshman year, and you talked to the entire week and you never talked to them again. You will see this person again and you'll become best friends again. And it's just the best thing ever.
So I wanted to very briefly just go over the cost breakdown so you guys can see where the money we get from the DIA fund will go to. First things first, it'll go to police, sound, security, DJs, and the EMTs. So we understand we were confirmed for the DIA fund at $38,700. So this puts us right around or a little bit less than what we had asked for. So.
All in all, our event has historically been an event that many students have been looking forward to across all cultures and all ethnicities. And it's an event that promotes, inclusion, diversity, celebrates Black culture through hip hop music and, our food and just everything how we do and just how it promotes also shared connection. With this year's gathering, we aim to uphold these values by advancing UMass's commitment to cultural diversity and inclusion, especially in these times with the political climate of this world, how a lot of us are, being divided by what's going on out there. This event is definitely where everyone comes together and just, has that moment of bliss and inclusion and feeling that community here on us. Yes, and thank you.
So I'll now transition to the questions period. As a reminder, please keep your questions of a factual nature and also refer to the viewpoint neutrality resources folder that was added as a shortcut into the supplemental material. Yes, Senator Trump.
Is this working? Okay. First off, I'd like to thank both of you guys so much for coming up here and presenting. And this question isn't necessarily, I guess, aimed at the presentation. I was just curious that you mentioned that you guys were applying for the DIA fund because of budget cuts, not related to the presentation. I was just wondering if you could elaborate on the budget cuts that you guys faced.
So one thing I did want to mention, when we did apply for the budget, we did notice there was significant cuts to things that we usually did get in the past. So when we refer to budget cuts, that's what we refer to.
Additional questions? Yes, Senator Mellon.
How much money is currently in the DIA fund? And thank you again for your presentation.
Secretary Long.
So before funding BMCP, we're sitting a little bit above $65,000. So that's what
does any of this funding go to the swag that you mentioned handing out?
No.
Have you checked, so we're curious on the sound equipment, where are you getting it from? Is that contracted out? Is that through Source? Is that
Yes, it's contracted out with Atomic Sound.
Okay, have you investigated using Source prior to making that contract?
So any sound provided by UMass is usually for events of about 150 or less. If you have an event that is more than 150 students, usually they request that we use sounding from outside. And I believe because this is also an outdoor event, which has about 1,500 students, if I'm not mistaken, from the presentation, they will need sounds that not only is more expensive because it is outside, but also it's past the 150 limit from the source.
In the VPN guideline, there's a note that groups should explore funding sources through source for AV before using outside resources. Is that something that we mandate in our procedures or bylaws, or is that just a note in the guide?
I believe it's just a note in the guide.
Yeah. Also because like even if they were to go through the source, they cannot get any funding for AV since it is not like their event is more than 150 people, which also I believe there was 2 other groups that came from DIA Fund that requested for events for more than 150 people. They had to get sound from outside vendors as well.
Then are you using, sorry, one more question. Are you using any of the funds to print flyers?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Hernandez.
Kind of related, kind of not. What is the plan in the event that there is rain? Because this is an outdoor event.
So we usually make the rain call a few days before our event on Saturday, and if that ends up being the case, the sound equipment usually goes under the tent that is rented for that event.
So there will be a tent and there's, okay, awesome, thank you.
Additional questions? Senator Walker.
Thanks again, guys, for coming out here. Beautiful presentation. I was wondering about the EMTs because when I'm looking at the cost breakdown, it's the cheapest one or the lowest amount. So I was wondering if you guys had sufficient EMTs.
So usually for this event, it's usually about 2 EMTs is usually sufficient for that event. That 220 is just their rate. EMTs are hired in pairs, so we pay. That number is just basically we just added it up based on our event from last year.
Other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. Does there exist a need for debate? All right, no indication of need for debate. The question is on the passage of S91, a motion to fund the Black Mass Community Project at $35,067.68. All those in favor of passing the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. All those abstained, say the same. You guys have it, the motion passes. All right, on to officer reports. Trustee Olivera is recognized. And we'll keep reports today on the shorter side, please.
Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good week. I just want to first start off by saying congratulations to the new speaker. Other than that, for me this week, I did have the Board of Trustees meeting. Today was the actual board meeting. It was pretty short and simple. They did address the concerns on tuition again. From what I know, it did pass. But from the student trustees, the 5 of us finally got to discuss creating a letter. We sent that out to the Board of Trustees, just stating that the 5 of us don't support the tuition increase. So we're kind of doing everything we can on our end. We have had one of the trustee members tried to speak today during the meeting. Didn't go very well. But going forward, we're hoping that we can get better discussion with them. And then I'm just going to make sure I'll keep open communications with you guys. And then I think that's about it on my end. But, I also did want to mention, tomorrow is the Faculty Senate meeting. I know I mentioned to you guys a couple of months ago, perhaps like March, I think it was, or not even, like the month before that, I mentioned to you guys that there was like a little altercation at that meeting. Ever since then, I haven't had an invitation to the meeting. I don't know if it's just based off the way I acted or just the things that happened. But I do ask for your support. If anyone's free tomorrow at 3:30, Herder Hall, they're having the Faculty Senate meeting. They're not too much of a fan of me, which I can tell. So if you guys want to come and watch tomorrow's meeting, feel free to. I love some support. You guys are my friends, so why not? But that's all I have.
Any questions? Senator Prabhakar.
Could you speak to why maybe two UMass Amherst students who requested to speak at the Board of Trustees meeting were denied with no explanation of why?
So they actually didn't request it 24 hours in advance, so it wasn't on the agenda. So that was just kind of on them, I will say. It's the same procedure.
That's not true. It was requested more than 24 hours in advance, and actually,
your students.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. That I actually have nothing to do with that. That's like through the president's office. I don't decide on really who speaks.
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying maybe you could like address why that might have happened, if from any of your knowledge that you might.
I'm not gonna lie. Like it's not like they sat there and they're like, this is the reason why we took this person and didn't. I know as much as everyone else. I'm just kind of like linked in on that email chain, but I literally don't have an answer. I'm sorry about that. And then it's just like I was saying, like one of our own student trustees were trying to speak, and then that wasn't put on the agenda. It was just like a whole thing. So they were really quick and short on time today. It was just like in and out. Yeah.
In terms of the faculty senate, you being taken out of the loop off of emails, is that a violation of the Wellman document?
No. So them putting me in the loop was also their choice. I did appreciate that in the beginning, and that was helping. Especially because those meetings they are public, but they're not like super open to everyone. Like no one's getting an email on that. You have to go out and look for them. After that whole thing that happened in the email I sent, I can tell that I was no longer associated with that, which it just also pissed me off because we do work in a team, and it's like from what I've heard of, the president themselves haven't been receiving emails as well. So it just, it's like the student body got cut out in some sense. But I also, don't quote me on that. That could just also be a mistake that they missed our email. So.
President Humphries for a point of clarification.
Just a point of information, the president, being me, and the vice president, Dale, we used to get emails every month and we stopped getting them for March and April. It could have been an error, but it is a little weird nonetheless, so hopefully we can get that addressed.
We'll do one more question. Okay. Thank you very much. President Humphries.
Hello, everybody. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Speaker-elect DeBatey and Associate Speaker-elect Tremaine on their elections today. That was a very awesome race, and congratulations. So I got a couple of things I want to talk about. First and foremost, I do want to address the events of the last week or so in regards to student visas being revoked. I'm sure many of you guys hopefully had a chance to read the statement that we put out, both via email and on our Instagram. If not, I encourage you to read it. If anyone has any questions, please do send them my way. That's what I'm here for. I think that, obviously this is very concerning to me and to my administration because, at the end of the day, these are constituents of mine, and I think, that seems like a very extreme and move. Obviously, I don't know about each of the individual cases, but it's also part of a worrying trend that's taking place across the country where we're seeing more and more of these situations happening. I can tell you we have been in touch with university administration as well as Student Legal Services Office. Really what we're trying to do is support them as best we can. I am aware that they are very rapidly expanding the network of law firms that they are in contact with and resources that they can offer. Additionally, the Angel Fund through the Dean of Students Office is a great resource. They help students who have been negatively impacted by changes in immigration policy. Anybody can donate it to it if you're able to. I'd highly recommend. I think it's a great resource for our students. And ultimately, the goal of the SGA is to both work with university administration and student legal services to improve and expand our existing resources, as well as identify new community resources to help out our students. Additionally, we want to make sure that we are creating an environment here in the SGA where people feel safe, supported, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and continue to expand the support network and make sure we're providing those important resources to students. Secondly, I have some very, very, very exciting news tonight, guys. We've been talking about it for a little while. After 9 long years, countless presidential administrations, meeting after meeting after meeting, failed deal after failed deal. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I will be signing the club sports transition deal. We got the job done, which means officially tomorrow morning, that will put in place the process to transition club sports to Recwell for the year 2027. We are going to be doing a more detailed presentation during Committee of the Whole next week. However, a couple of the key facets, this is going to result in way more resources for our club sports. We're contributing $400K, which is actually less than we currently spend on club sports, but Recwell is also going to contribute $341K. They're hiring new staff members to support club sports. It's going to be better space, better equipment, and better advising, which is super exciting. Additionally, that will greatly relieve the burden on the rest of our RSOs. It'll allow the source to provide more support because they're very overwhelmed right now. It'll allow our SGA officers, our registry people, and our finance people to provide more support. And it will also relieve the work burden on the SGA. And overall, too, this is going to result in a better club sports, a better SATF, a better experience, and obviously, it's going to make all of our lives a lot easier. So this is a very, very good day. The signing will be official as of tomorrow morning. I'll make sure to send a message in the group chat once it's done, so you guys will know for sure. Hopefully, there won't be any middle of the night emergencies that derail things, but we got the all clear from SLSO today, and it looks like it's a go. So this is a historic moment for the Student Government Association and for UMass. This is definitely one of those moments that will be remembered for a long time, and it's going to have a huge impact. And I don't think we could have done it without. I got to thank Chair Stamen, Secretary Bellarive. I got to thank Sid, JD, as well as the teams over at Recwell and Sackle for their great contributions to this. I also should give some credit to the previous administration. President Wiseman and President Raza both contributed in their teams, both contributed heavily to this process, and I think they deserve some credit as well. So this is a very, very exciting time for the SGA, and I'm really excited to put the pen to the paper tomorrow morning. In other news, just a few quick things. Conduct reform, we're meeting again on Friday. We're looking to finalize the draft. Basically, what will happen next is there's going to be a committee of the whole, not next week because we already got 2 of those coming your way next week, but maybe the 23rd or later. I got to find out when Patricia Anik Cardoso can come. So that's coming up the pipes, and ultimately after SGA General Body and GSG reviews it, it will be sent to the Chancellor. Hopefully he'll approve, and that will be that. Also next week, Rania, Secretary Merchant, is going to present her registry reform proposal, and we're going to have a vote on that on the 23rd. So very excited to possibly get that done. Lots of really, really excited things. And also finally on Friday, Attorney General Cook, as well as Senator Nevins and I, maybe a few others, are going to be meeting with Constance Engler from the PVTA. We're going to be talking about the possibility of expanding bus routes. Particularly, we are looking at up to Greenfield as a possible location to expand services. We're also talking to the Greenfield Community College SGA president, who's really interested in helping us advocate for it, because they're looking for more of us up there. They're looking for more business, more students, and it's, it'll result in more affordable housing for our students, and it'll result in, helping boost their local economies up there. It'll help their small businesses, it'll help their schools, it'll help their everything. So overall, this is something that will obviously I don't expect this to happen overnight, but hopefully we're setting the groundwork for something huge here. So very exciting stuff. I won't bore you with anything else. Any other details should be in there. But yeah, I'll take any questions if they exist. All right, thank you all very much.
Vice President Leone?
So I'm also Vice President Leone. I look just like him. So basically, Vice President Leone had to leave early today because tomorrow morning he's beginning up bright and early to go to the State House and advocate for college affordability with Phenom. He's going to be, I believe Secretary Heflin might be going too. So they're going to be representing my administration over at the State House tomorrow, which is super, super exciting. Really great opportunity for students to make their voices heard. I would have loved to have been there, but I'm here on the ground signing the club sports agreement. So we got big day tomorrow. Both me and Dale attending to very important matters. However, there is talks that I might be doing a food security event with 2 members of Congress in a few weeks, but I'll get back to you on that. But basically, otherwise for Vice President Leone, he's virtually been working on the same things that I've been working on, but I just wanted to kind of note that that's why he left early, and that's going to be a really cool opportunity, and I'm sure he'll have lots to update everybody on next week. Any questions? All right, thank you all very much.
All right, the details of everything I want to say are in my report, my Senate report. A couple reminders, ESO events, please get those in. Also today was a focus group, the last focus group offered to senators, provided by the auditors, and so I hope we got 10 people to go to that because it's very important for their the report that they're writing. Also, I wanted to say congratulations to Ashan Vivetti and Cody Germain. It's very impressive, and I really look forward to our transition meetings. Until the end of the semester. That's all I want to say. Everything else is in my report. So Speaker Armanis.
Hi everyone, I'll keep this brief. I did submit my report out this week because last week I had some personal stuff go on, so I went home. But I did have my one-on-one with Lindsay, who's doing did the engagement tonight for as the external review. I did have that. I did work on the agenda last week, and then I've just been catching up on emails. Congratulations! Can we get another round of applause for the new speaker and associate speaker? I am so excited to be working with them. I think that they are both fully capable of everything that this job will throw at them, especially since we've been already working with Betty. So again, congratulations, you guys really deserve this. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. It's kind of it for me. I'll have a better report out next week. Any questions? Thank you.
All right. On to Chief Justice, RHA President. You are recognized.
Everyone. We've been holding elections, and we finally have a new president and vice president for next year. Finnegan Daly will be president, and then Ayush will remain as vice president. We're having elections for the fall, or for the rest of our positions next week. And then I'm inviting you all to the RHA end of year banquet. I'll send an email with the link to RSVP attached to the Senate meeting agenda. Any student that lives on campus is more than welcome to attend. So yeah, I'll also send a nomination form for any advisors you'd like to nominate, any House Council programs you've been to that you'd like to nominate, or even House Council members that you'd like to recognize. So I'll send those links out so that everyone can vote and recognize those people. Thank you.
Any RSO council presidents may be recognized. All right, on to cabinet. Any member of cabinet who wishes to make a quick update may be recognized. Okay. Any faculty senate representatives, ESO event representatives, or advisory board representatives may be recognized. President Humphries.
Hi, everybody. Today I went to the Administration and Finance Advisory Board. Talked a little about funding. As you guys know, we are doing a little bit of a cautious approach to funding right now, where we're, obviously kind of, limiting the stuff that's not super critical, just to make sure we're in a good situation, or in a stable situation where anything that happens toward federal funding. That being said, I do want to, we talked a lot about sort of like, how there's misinformation going around, both related to the financing and to, some of the immigration policy changes that are going on. It's really important to make sure that we are, trying to get the right information out there. So I have heard a lot of misinformation, which, I understand that it's not necessarily deliberate, but it can do a lot more harm than good. So I'd really recommend making sure you really read and look into things before making conclusions. And I think also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Sid and JD are very in touch with what's going on, so please come to us. We can kind of help explain it, and then make sure also when you're talking to students, try to get that proper information out there as well. We did talk a little bit about the SGA possibly doing a, sort of like a little misinformation, so more proper information campaign. Obviously, if we were to do this, it would be very much, we'd be very intentional to make sure we're not causing more harm or causing targeting or anything like that, but also be a good way to make sure that, the community knows what's going on, because, in times of uncertainty like this, it can cause a lot of, anxiety, and a lot of, there are definitely legitimate things to be worried about, but we also don't want things to, we don't want people to be worried about things that aren't true. So that's all for me. I assume Hadi might talk about the same thing. Any questions for me?
All right. Secretary Mott.
I just have a couple of notes from that meeting I think you guys might want to hear about. So a couple of students added to the agenda items, what can administration do for, in terms of short-term employment, and what can they do for people facing kind of financial distress due to the funding that was cut. And then a lot of people, they have their entire salary kind of depends on federal grants and federal funding. So the admin officer that we kind of spoke to kind of enlightened us and spoke about this grant. I can't remember the name of it anymore. I tried to get it in the notes, but conversation. But there is a grant. I think you guys would be happy to hear about that. Is there in support for people for looking for a new job. So if they're losing federal fund, if they lost federal funding in around February for whatever job they might have held, there is kind of this relief program that UMass is providing for them, where they have until August to find another place of employment. So it's a little bit of a grace period, which I think is some good news. Some other sentiments that were shared was just in general about how UMass is kind of responding to the whole situation, about how they're responding to the visa verifications and the funding that's being cut across campuses nationwide. There has been lots of calls. Administration admitted to us that they've received lots of calls as to why they haven't been doing much, why they haven't been saying anything, speaking out against the government. And the truth is, he was very straight up with us, is that it's a really dangerous time, especially for UMass fiscally, in terms of how our finances might be in the next coming year. We don't exactly know, just due to the
certain types of grants and funds that UMass receives as a school. But, Princeton, Harvard, Brown, these private institutions have been cut to an insane amount. I'm sure you guys have seen. And, these schools might be handling it, even though, it does take a toll on them, obviously, of course, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are cut from their funding. But UMass cannot afford anything like that. Since we are, state university, we rely on federal funding like that. So they're doing what they can. They're doing what they can, behind the scenes to support students. But that's kind of where they are right now in speaking publicly on everything that's going on. Of course, us being UMass and where we are, where we stand politically as universities, I think a little clear on where we kind of lean. But right now, that's just kind of the answer they gave us as to why they might not be as vocal as students want them to be. They're also sending out a housing survey to 6,000 students, just about what they want to see from the university moving forward. I'm pretty sure there was some kind of incentive for students to fill this out, like every 2 people or every couple of people that fill it out get some kind of gift card. But they talked about that a little bit. And they also, the administration officer that we spoke with they kind of went into detail about how our funding was being cut and how funding is being cut with schools across the nationwide. And it was just really informative. He explained to us the difference between direct and indirect funding and what exactly was cut. So I don't know if some of you guys might already know about this, but indirect funding is what was cut, or is what the Trump administration cut. So if you guys want to know more about that, I thought it was very interesting what he explained, but you can, feel free to talk to me after. But that's just kind of some updates from the notes I took from that meeting. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks for listening.
How's everybody doing? Thanks. Sweet. Good to know that we're all joyous on this Wednesday evening. This morning, or rather this afternoon, I had maybe one of the most fiery academic matters committee meetings I've ever been to. I think it's potentially the loudest it's ever been in that room. We were essentially debating on whether or not to get rid of the microbiology minor. Sorry, I'm not a STEM major. Can you tell? Needless to say, to give you all a bit of a rundown, the microbiology department has a specific course. It's their starting course. They have a non-major course and a major course. They had a policy put in place that said if you take the non-major course, you are not allowed to get into the minor. You are not allowed to get into the major. So say, you have a free class that you can take and you decide to take the non-major microbiology course, and then you find out that you really like microbiology, well, you can't do it. And they were wondering why no one was signing up for the minor, and they came to AMC and were like, well, no one's signing up, so we obviously don't need it. Let's get rid of it. I was glad to see that some administrators were upset about it. Not nearly as upset as they should have been. We definitely need to stay hyper vigilant and hold the different departments accountable. But we tabled the motion to get rid of this minor and sent them a pretty well-written recommendation to make the minor and the major all the more accessible. I noted several reasons, and I can just ram off to you now. Bachelor's degrees are less valuable on average than they were 10 years ago. There are more people taking bachelor's degrees than they were 10 years ago. Certificates, minors, secondary majors are vastly more valuable because students are able to get more certifications to get to jobs. Those are some of the things that I said to them. I can't say that they're going to follow us to a T. To put it very bluntly, they very much want to get rid of the minor so that they can utilize their resources for the majors only. I'm very against that, but there's only so much they can do. They noted having faculty problems, as in they don't have enough faculty, and kind of having a resource issue. Thankfully, Farshid Hajir was there, so I knocked on his door during the meeting, and while I was debating them, said, Farshid is sitting next to you, he can do something about it. He said that he is in favor of keeping the minor and wants to do so. So it's good to know that the administration is siding with the students in this instance to make sure that these educational resources are open. Outside of that, that was the majority of our meeting. We approved a lot of AI courses. We're seeing across the university, AI is getting kind of embedded into all of the different majors. All of the different majors are offering courses on AI now. Some climate and energy justice courses. The meeting before, the Eisenberg School of Management got rid of one of their DEI courses. It's called Management 201. Essentially, it is a 3-credit course that only meets for 1 credit hour. And it was one of their many DEI courses that they teach, but that one was specifically for diversity, equity, and inclusion. They have gotten rid of that course and embedded the parts of it into other classes. I can't say that I fully supported it. I did not vote yes. It passed very fastly a couple weeks ago. I will say to that, as someone who is in Eisenberg, who is involved in their diversity, equity, and inclusion office, the dean and the department chairs who kind of facilitated that entire process were working with the diversity, equity, and inclusion office the entire time. And I will say, for that matter, that particular course, having been a student who also took it, it is a 3-credit hour course, and they only met for 50 minutes a week. Nothing was being taught. The course, in my personal opinion, was terrible. As far as I recommended that they improve the course and not get rid of it. Unfortunately, they disagreed with me, but they have committed, at least through the department leaders within the DEI office in Eisenberg, that the course, who is administered, they have 3 different courses, the first year transitions, and then this 201 management class is considered a sophomore year's transitions class. The course administrators have essentially said that, we're going to just take the components out of this course and put it into these other courses. And they should be sending those syllabi to us in the next couple of weeks. But I can answer any questions. I know I just shared a lot of information about a good amount of things.
Any questions?
If you have any questions and you don't want to say them out here, I'm an open book. You have my email.
Any chairs wishing to make quick addition to their reports? All right, SG Advisor. There's no business unanticipated. All right. So speaker will report the ending roll call.
Senator Denny. Senator Ariola. Here. Senator Baumann. Senator Beltrami.
Here.
Senator Black. Senator Borowski.
Here.
Senator Butusova. Here. Chair Centenaro. Here. Senator Chama. Here. Senator DeMarco. Senator Dami. Senator Duarte. Betty. Senator Eze. Here. Senator Patricio. Here. Senator Gatto. Senator Germain. Senator Hercules. Senator Gironandani. Senator Holland. Senator Clem. Senator Imran. Senator Dahmed. Senator Kim.
Here.
Senator Kim. Senator Leclerc. Senator Le. Senator Lefort. Senator Molesky. Senator Malari. Senator Mondo. Charmazondo. Here. Senator Mello. Here. Senator Nashi.
Nashi.
Senator Nevins.
Here.
Senator Wynn. Chair Nyeka. Here. Senator Pata. Senator Fawn. Senator Brumker. Chair Raven. Here. Senator Rue. Chair Sarna. Chair Sharma. Senator Shi.
Here.
Chair Stamen. Senator Tao. Chair Chen. Senator Chung.
Here.
Senator Verma. Senator Walker Hoover.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Senator Germain. Associate Speaker-elect Germain. Seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. All those abstain, say abstain. The ayes have it. Accordingly, the Senate will stand adjourned until April 16th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good night.